Houston, this is Jason Hammond, the ASD manager from the Children's Museum of Houston, here to do an educator moment for you, brought to you by the Moran Foundation. That is how we are able to do these sort of educator moments from home, even though I'm not really at my home. If you look around, I'm outside, but I am near my home. So what we're going to do today is, lots of you are outside these days taking walks, we hope, to get your exercise in with your family, your friends, whoever. Of course, practicing social distancing, just like we are right now. But there's a fun thing you can do while you do this. You could actually map out the solar system. You can do what we would call map out the solar system using AUs, astronomical units. Now what's really great is that 1 AU is the distance between the sun and the earth. So all you gotta do is you gotta figure out, okay, I'm gonna take that 1 AU and let's say you say it's gonna be 15 steps, 1 AU. Then from there, you just gotta either divide the AUs that are like for Mercury and Venus, which are closer to the sun than the Earth, and then times out the AU for like places like Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, because they're further from the sun. So all you really gotta do is you gotta have to start with a fixed point. And our fixed point is gonna be those trees back there all the way to this fence right here, okay? That's our sun, because the sun is huge, all right? And I am gonna set my AUs at 15 steps. Now, if you really wanted to do this accurately, you would actually get out a big measuring tape or one of those meter walkers and you would do it. But a lot of people don't have that stuff. So all you gotta do is you gotta set one person to be your stepper, okay? I'm gonna be the stepper today, and I'm just gonna walk normal. And every time I'm at the planet I'm supposed to be at, I'm gonna stop, give you a few moments of information, and then we're gonna move on to the next planet. Here's another thing I'm gonna do. The first planet from the sun, Mercury, is 6 steps away from the sun. The next planet is 11 steps away, which is Venus. I'm not gonna walk back to the fence and then go 11 more steps. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 11, subtract that from 6, that's 5, I'm gonna walk 5 more steps. Just so you understand how I'm going to be doing this. And like I said, every time I stop, I'm going to have like a little planet like this. Like you can barely see little Mercury because it's so small. And I'm going to give you just a few facts. So, like I said, I'm just going to walk. It's not quite as accurate as you might want it to be, but it is fairly accurate, okay? So I'm going to step right, and I'm not even going to do like a walk like this. I'm not going to do this thing, okay? I'm just going to walk normal. So I'm gonna walk 6 paces, my normal pace. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, this is where Mercury would be. Mercury is fairly close to the edge of the sun right there, all right? Now, you might think that makes Mercury the hottest planet. It is not the hottest planet, it's the second hottest planet. We'll talk about the hottest planet in a moment. But Mercury does have the biggest range of temperature of any planet. That's because it has a very, very thin to non-existent atmosphere. Because of that, when the sun is hitting Mercury, it's extremely hot. It's like 800 degrees Fahrenheit. When it's not hitting the sun, when it's in shadow, it's negative 288 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. That is a fluctuation of almost 1100 degrees that Mercury goes through. That is the highest fluctuation of any of the planets. Mercury is the most cratered planet. It goes around the sun in about 88 days. It has no moons, it has no rings. That, my friends, is Mercury. Now, like I said, the next planet is going to be 11 steps away. That's Venus, but I'm not going to walk back over there. I'm just going to go ahead over here and get to Venus, okay? So, follow me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where Venus would be. You can see we're a little bit further away, but not too much further away. Now I gotta find Venus inside my bag here. And here is Venus. Now Venus is the hottest planet. It is always about 900 degrees Fahrenheit on Venus. It doesn't really fluctuate at all. That's because it has a very, very dense, thick atmosphere, okay? It has no moons, it has no rings. It has a day that is longer than its year, which is very, very interesting to me. It takes about 243 days, Earth days, for Venus to go around once like this. It only takes 225 days for it to go around the sun. So it has a longer day than it has a year, okay? Now, lots of people think, probably Venus hasn't been explored all that much because it's so hot. It has such high air pressure because of its thick atmosphere, but that's not true. In the 1970s through the 80s, the Soviet Union, what is now called Russia, sent 8 different landers to the planet Venus. The longest one lasted 110 minutes, and then the pressure crushed it and the temperature melted it. But it did last almost 2 hours to get some pictures. And there's Venus for you. Now, the next planet is our own planet, the Earth. And that's 15 steps, or 1 AU, away from the sun. Right now, I'm at 11, so I'm going to go 4. What you're going to notice right now is that this is the 2 planets that are closest to each other. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, this here is the Earth. All right, what makes the Earth special? Lots of things. It is the exact distance from the sun that it needs to be able to have livable life, and a huge amount of livable life. Okay, it's tilted perfectly. So when it's tilted in a way that we have pretty much equal seasons. We have a winter, we have a spring, we have a summer, and we have a fall. Okay, its moon, it only has 1 moon. Its moon is just far enough that we're tidally locked in a very, very good way. Okay, now outside of just having livable life on this planet and, you know, being the only planet that we know of at this point that has life, the special thing about our planet is our moon. And it's the only other place that humans have visited outside of the Earth. Between 1969 and 1972, 6 different spacecraft landed on the moon and 12 different people stepped onto the moon. But it's been a long, long time. 1972 is a long, long time ago, so it's been a while since we've been there. But that's okay, because maybe someday we'll go back, because when we want to explore Mars, we want to make sure that we have a place in between that we can visit, or have a place in between where we can rest a little bit. Now that's the next place we're going to go. Now it's hard for me to remember every single one of these AUs, so I have a little sheet here that I've put out. So right now, the next one is going to be 23 steps away. So we're 15 steps. So we're going to go 8 more steps for Mars. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, this is where Mars is. You can see we're not that far. And they're all pretty close. It would be better if we had like all these different people to show you like how far they are. But right now, we can't do that, okay? Just because of like the way stay at home, social distancing, and all that. It's just gonna be able to be 2 of us doing this. Now, my stick fell off of Mars, but that's okay. That's what Mars looks like. Mars is the 2nd smallest of the planets, okay? But even though it's small, there are large things on the planet Mars. Mars has the largest volcano, which is Olympus Mons. It's 3 times taller than Mount Everest here on the planet Earth. Mars has the largest canyon, the Valles Marineris. It is 2,500 miles long. That's the distance between Los Angeles and New York City. Very, very, very long. It's 125 miles at its widest, and it can be up to 6 to 8 miles deep. There's still kind of a debate on that. It also has the largest crater. Let me rephrase it. It has the largest visible impact crater, okay? There's a place called the SPA basin on the moon that's larger, but it's not visible. We can't really see it because it's on the what we would call the far side of the far side of the moon. But we have the largest. It's called the Hellas Planitia, and that's on Mars. Mars has 2 moons. They're called Phobos and Deimos. Now Mars is the god of war. Phobos and Deimos were the gods of war's hunting dogs. Okay, so that's why they got that. Now the next place we're going to visit is the asteroid belt. And the asteroid belt is going to be 48 steps away. So we're at 23 steps right now. So we're gonna have to go 25 steps right now. So you see how we're getting further and further along? So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2, right here, okay? Now, I don't have a bunch of rocks to demonstrate the asteroid belt, but that's what the asteroid belt is. It's a bunch of rocks and metal, just jumbled masses just flying around this big space. But the one really interesting thing about the asteroid belt, it has a very large asteroid that's actually been redesignated as a dwarf planet that is called Ceres. And we're very interested in studying the asteroid belt, scientists at this point, to see what we can pull out of that resource-wise. So it's going to be a place we visit a lot coming up soon. So it'll become much, much more interesting as the years go by. Now the next planet, and again I'm going to use my cheat sheet here because it's hard to remember all this stuff, is Jupiter. Jupiter is going to be 78 steps away. Okay, right now we're at 48, I believe. Yeah, 48. So 78, we got to go 30 more. So you see the distances are getting further and further. So I'm going to turn, and we're going to go 30 steps. So. And right here is where Jupiter would be. Now you can see we're getting much, much further away. All right, let me get my Jupiter out. Jupiter, of course, is the largest of all the planets. It's pretty big, as you can see. It's very famous for this right here, this storm. That's called the Great Red Spot. One of the things that's really interesting to scientists about Jupiter is not so much Jupiter itself. I mean, it's an interesting place. It's cold. It's 234 degrees below zero. It's got this hugely dangerous magnetic field that stretches hundreds of thousands of miles around the planet. But what's really interesting to scientists are the moons of Jupiter. As of 2019, Jupiter has 79 confirmed moons. And 4 of those moons are very, very interesting. They are what we call the Galilean moons. They are called Io, Europa, Callisto, and Ganymede. Now of those 4, the most interesting to scientists is Europa, because Europa is likely to have liquid water on the planet, and it is likely or hopefully to have possible life inside that liquid water, because there's also heat generating from the core. So I'm not saying there's going to be a dolphin in there or even a starfish. It may be like a microbe, but that's something that's really interesting to scientists, because one of the things that we're most interested in is finding life outside our own planet. So Jupiter's little system might hold the key to some of those answers. All right, now I got to do some calculations here. Right now, we are 78 steps away from the sun, which is 5.2 AUs. The next one is Saturn, which is 9.5 AUs, and that is 143. So if we're at 78 right now, we're gonna have to go 65 steps at this point. 65 steps. You ready for this? Let's do this. 65 steps coming up. All right. Here we are. Now you can see we're getting much, much further away. This is Saturn's right here. Got a little wrinkle. This is Saturn, obviously known for its big, beautiful ring. But don't think that Saturn's the only planet that has rings. Actually, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune all have rings. Okay, but this has the largest ring system that we know of. Right now, Saturn has 82 confirmed moons. 82, that's a lot. And it's the most in the solar system at this point. Now, they're always finding new moons around Jupiter and Saturn, so who knows what's gonna happen this year. But right now, there's 82 confirmed moons around Saturn. Saturn is also it's getting colder. It's about 288 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit at Saturn. So we're getting cold, we're getting a lot more stuff out here and whatnot. Now, of the moons of Saturn, there are two that are very, very impressive to scientists. One is called Titan, and it's impressive because it's the only moon with a really thick atmosphere. It's almost like a little planet. And its atmosphere is very, very reminiscent of our own atmosphere a couple billion years ago. So maybe it's evolving the same way our Earth evolved. Another one is Enceladus because it's always shooting out what we call cryogenic volcanic matter, which is basically ice out into the ring system. That's what keeps the ring system fed. So perhaps that water that's trapped inside Enceladus also could have life. And again, that's something we're looking for very much. All right, now we're gonna get to the big ones. So let me figure this out really quick. Uranus is 19 AUs away from the sun. That's 500, oh, I'm sorry, that's 300, that's 285 steps. Right now we're at 143, okay? That means we're gonna go 142 steps right now, 142 steps. Now that might seem like the largest amount. The next one is gonna be the largest amount. So it's gonna be a minute. Keep up with us. 142 coming up. Here we are. Look how far away the sun is at this point. Very far away. Let me find Uranus really quick. Where is Uranus? Here is Uranus. Kind of a beautiful place. Now, one of the more interesting things about Uranus is that its north and south pole is actually like that. Okay? It got flipped over. Its axis tilt got flipped sometime a long time ago. Something hit it, they think, and it flipped it on its side. So when it rotates, it kind of rotates like this. Or when it's going, yeah, it rotates, it goes like this. It goes like that, but still orbits around the same way. Now, Uranus is getting really cold. It's actually, on average, the coldest planet atmospherically. It can go up to 370 degrees below zero. So it's very, very, very cold. Now, some people might think, wait a minute, Pluto's probably colder, and it is. It's 384 degrees below zero, you know, at times, but it's not a planet anymore. It's a dwarf planet. So that's why they call Uranus the coldest at this time average. I'm sorry, at its most extreme, not at its average, at its most extreme, it's the coldest. The coldest average one is Neptune, which is coming up next. Now, Uranus has 27 moons, and probably the most interesting one to scientists on that one is called Miranda. Really interesting about the moons of Uranus, they're all named after Shakespearean characters. So there's Puck, Miranda, Umbriel, all those kind of ones. Now, the reason why they like Miranda is because there's a place called the Verona Rubies there that actually is the tallest cliff in the solar system. It's 12 miles high. So you imagine, like, people do cliff diving, they cliff dive a couple hundred feet. Think about cliff diving, you know, almost 60,000 feet or more. So that's the reason why it's kind of interesting. Like, how did that occur? How did it get formed? So that right there is Uranus. Now, the greatest distance is between Uranus and Neptune. So let me calculate this one. So, right now we're at 285 steps, okay? Neptune is 450 steps away, all right? So we're looking at going, I'm sorry, it's 450 steps away, we're at 285, we're looking at going 200 and, let me think about this really quick. It was 285, 240, so 15, that's 300, 250. So 265 steps we're gonna have to travel right now. That's a long distance. And we're not even to Pluto yet, so bear with me, 265 steps, here we go. Here we are. You can barely see the sun's edge at this point. Remember that fence? Now you can barely see it. So here we are at Neptune. It's got itself 14 moons. The most famous is Triton. The reason why Triton is pretty famous and interesting to scientists is that most moons orbit their planet the same way they're rotating, and Triton actually does retrograde. It goes the other opposite direction. So that's pretty interesting, and they're wondering why that is. Also, it has kind of a dense atmosphere, they think, and therefore they're kind of like, ooh, what's with this atmosphere over here? Triton's not the only moon that does retrograde, but it's of the large moons that does retrograde. So there's like lots of tiny little moons that go the opposite direction, but it's the large moon that does. Neptune, let me pull that out, is right here. It's actually, to me, the prettiest of all the planets. I just like that deep blue right there. If you look carefully up in here, there's a blue spot. It's kind of like the great red spot, but it's a great blue spot. Again, it's a storm. The really cool thing about Neptune is it's the windiest planet of all the planets. The winds go about 1,200 miles per hour. so it's pretty darn windy. Yeah, you get blown across pretty quickly. Think about that, 1,200 miles per hour. It would only take you like 2 hours and some change to actually be blown across the United States. Think about how long it takes to drive across the United States. So that's pretty interesting to me. Now, that's all the planets I have. We're gonna go visit the last object that we consider of great importance in the solar system outside the comets and the asteroids, which is the dwarf planet Pluto. Now, Pluto we're at 450 steps away at this point. Pluto is about another 1,200 steps. It's about 600 steps away. So if we're at 450, we need to do another 150 or so to get to Pluto, and then you'll see how far away that is. And then we'll talk a little bit about Pluto in a second. All right, so you ready? We're gonna do 150 steps. Here we go. So look, remember, actually Uranus and Neptune are farther apart from each other than Neptune and Pluto, even though Pluto is the farthest away. In reality, Uranus is about the halfway point of our solar system. Think about that. It's the 7th planet. So 150 steps. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here we are. It's not quite 1,200, or I'm sorry, 600. It's a little bit less than that. So I went about 145 steps instead. But if you did 1,200, it's fine, because remember, that's the average AU. Sometimes they're a little further away, sometimes they're a little closer. So in all of those, you can actually, if you wanted to, you could fudge it a little bit, because if you want just to make the math easier or the steps easier, because they do fluctuate from distance. Now look, I can't even see the fence anymore. And the tree has gotten really small too, where we said the far edge was. So we're very, very small. Right now, Pluto doesn't receive a lot of light. It's actually pretty dark. Like I said, it's colder than Neptune. It's about 384 degrees below zero at its coldest. But since it's considered a dwarf planet, we still have to call, like, Neptune the average coldest planet. We're going to call Uranus the average, or not the average, the highest range of cold of any planet. So 370 degrees below zero for the atmosphere. Now, why is Pluto considered a dwarf planet? That's a question a lot of people want to ask, and this is why. To be a planet, you have to do a couple of things. You have to be round, okay? Pluto's like that. You have to go around the sun. Pluto does that. But you also have to clear the path of your orbit. Pluto doesn't do that. Pluto does weird things in its strange orbit. Like between 1978, I believe, and 1998, Pluto was actually considered the 8th planet because it moved in front of Neptune. Neptune was further out because Pluto has such a weird orbit, it came in front. So because it doesn't clear the path of its orbit, it's not considered a planet anymore, it's considered a dwarf planet. Now, maybe someday they'll change the definition again and it'll be considered a planet once more. Ceres is the same thing. It's over in the asteroid belt. Obviously it doesn't clear the path of its orbit because there's all kinds of junk around it. So therefore, it's also not considered a planet, it's considered a dwarf planet. Even though, when it was first discovered, they say, hey, there's a planet over there. There's one in between Mars and Jupiter. So things change, okay? Now, Pluto has been visited by a spacecraft called New Horizons. It landed in it flew by in 2015. I can get the exact date, July 14th, 2015. And we're learning so much more about that planet, or that dwarf planet, at this point. So it's really interesting. It also has 5 moons. That's pretty interesting. The most famous of this moon, the most famous moon of Pluto is Charon. And then there's Styx, there's Nix, there's Kerberos, and there's Hydra. And if you know your Greek mythology, Pluto was the god of the underworld. Styx was the river that Charon was paid to take people to the afterlife. Kerberos is just Cerberus, the dog that protects the gates of the underworld. And then Hydra was this weird 7-headed monster that I don't know what has to do with the rest of it, but they try to keep this sort of like tail, this thread going through when they name different moons and whatnot. Also, there are 5 dwarf planets. There is Pluto, which is the most famous. There's Ceres, there's Eris, there's Makemake, and there's Haumea. So there's 5 recognized dwarf planets. That is our solar system, other than the comets. Okay, the comets, they're kind of like on all these different distances, and they can stretch out way, way far, and so we don't worry about that. So of all the major things between the Sun and Pluto, we focus on the ones that we wanted to focus on. So, like I said, right there, you get yourself a nice little walk-in. While you're walking, you can do a little bit of science. It's a lot of fun. And once again, I just want to thank the Moran Foundation for letting me do this. And again, I'm Jason Hammond. Hope to see you soon at the museum. Please check out our website again for more content. We have Mr. O's Oh Wow moments. We have like a musical group doing Tot Spot songs. We're having math being put up there, science activities, all kinds of cool stuff. Story times are very popular, so check out our story times. So once again, Jason Hammond, Children's Museum of Houston, wishing to thank you and hope to see you soon. Bye now.